Hello, my friends. Welcome again. Today, I'm going to be talking to Alina Maragelis. Alina is a business performance manager at Dale Carnegie. We're going to be discussing how is to be a true leader nowadays, how to lead by example, instead of that old bosses that we had in the past. We're going to be discussing how important it is to grow your soft skills and how to adapt our mindsets to change the way we used to think. I hope you guys enjoyed. Everything that we're gonna be discussing today, I'm gonna add to the description below. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And also, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything in the future. Let's go! Alina, thank you very much for joining me today. It has been like quite a journey to get you on this channel, but I am super glad that you have accepted. And I'm sure that everyone that will be watching this conversation will love what we're going to discuss today. But first of all, Alina, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, of course, for those that don't know you yet. And what is your position as a business performance manager at Dale Carnegie? Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, Rodrigo. And first of all, thank you for the nice words. I'm honored to be with you as well, and I'm humbled by this. Sure. So yes, my role with Dale Carnegie is to support executive and middle managers in facilitating growth of their revenue through their teams. I've been with Dale Carnegie training for, I was just thinking the other day, for about 10 years now. So quite quite a long time. And if you go across our business, what you will find is that everybody's really passionate about what we do. So that is my case as well. So yes, I'm really passionate about what we do.
That's perfect, Alina. And actually, I've been interviewing a lot of leaders throughout all this lifespan of this channel, and I have a couple of them mentioning how great it was to work with Dale Carnegie. Actually, they said one of the ways to get into IT to be a leader actually is to work with Dale Carnegie and doing some formal trainings with you. So I'm pretty sure. Actually, Dale Carnegie's been there for, I believe, 95 years, correct? So
yep.
We cannot say this is not something that make a huge impact. So
yes, and thank you for that. It's good to hear that this is what you've heard about us as well. So yeah, thank you.
That's perfect. But Alina, as you mentioned, you've been working with Dale Carnegie for almost 10 years, but you have been in this industry for more than this. And the first question that I would like to grab your thoughts, Alina, is the difference between what is to be a leader nowadays and a boss on the old times. Let me say like this, because we know that you guys are working with a lot of your clients providing leadership training, but for sure we could see like an evolution throughout all these years. The approach that the leaders, the executives, the bosses of that time has been acting within the organization and within their employees. Could you mention a little bit how was this evolution to train? What was the training on the past, and what type of leaders you are trying to create now?
Yes, absolutely. So there are actually a few things that change massively. And I think the first one is the market itself. So if we look at the market a few years ago, change, for example, was happening to a really slow pace compared to what we are experiencing today. So that is one thing. So complexity of the market, the speed of how things are happening at the moment. That would be one. The second is related to the role itself. So I would say bosses in the past were viewed more as, the person who brought a lot of expertise. They were, also promoted based on that. And they were able to solve problems. So they were there, they're more autonomous. You would go to your leader to solve whatever challenges you were facing. and they had a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, and obviously the way they were managing was different from what we're experiencing today. And there is actually a story that I read the other day, which is probably really relevant to how leaders are supposed to manage today, and a bit about them. So Confucius was asked, how come you are such a big sage,
Mm-hmm.
but your disciples, one of them, for example, is more straightforward than you are. The other one, it's more courageous than you are, or the other one is more clarifying than you are. So how come these three people are your disciples? And Confucius said, well, because the one that is straightforward needs to learn how to be more flexible. The one that clarifies needs to learn how to give yes and no answers.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that is really courageous needs to learn how to be cautious. So this is the reason why these disciples are happy to be under my mentorship. So pretty much this, I think, is the role of the leader today, because the focus is so much on the teams and how they can facilitate actually and get the best out of their people. You will find a leader that needs to manage now across generations. So sometimes he or she will manage people from different generations. So it's not so much about the expertise that they bring, but it's about how they can take and bring the best out of their people. And there are numbers of ways of course of doing that is through listening, through finding out what drives, motivates their people, and facilitating that to get the best out of them and also help them grow in that process. But it's not about them solving the solutions, problems or finding solutions anymore. It's more about them creating an environment where people can grow and do that by themselves.
That's so perfect statement, Alina, because it is the end goal, right, to lead by example. And one of the outcomes of leading by example is to increase employee engagement, right? We know that people don't want today to work paycheck per paycheck, right? They don't want to go to the job and feel I need to work, but I need to go there because I have some bills to pay at the end of the month. People don't want that. People want to be happy. Doing their jobs, and having the leaders acting like leaders, not a boss, and can create this sense uh, of awareness among the employees that okay, I pertain to that company. So the engagement of the employee is going to increase, right, during this process. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, employee engagement it's a topic that, it has been discussed and businesses are aware of it. The challenge, Rodrigo, is that not many businesses are achieving, employees engaged within their businesses. And it's, there are a number of reasons why that happens. And I think, sometimes they're looking at different ways of achieving that. So what makes us feel engaged, and we've done a research on this, and it's similar to the result that Gallup came out when they've done their research.
Mm-hmm.
And there were kind of three main things that came out of it. One was, pride in the organization I'm working for. The second was belief in the senior leadership. And the third, which is actually the most important one, and I would say that is number one, is the relationship that I have with my supervisor or my line manager.
Mm-hmm.
So when we create that in our businesses, and that's how actually we can, have an environment where people are engaged. And we're businesses are looking at different ways of doing this, and it's not actually the getaways or the days off or the metrics that like it's just about how do I feel in relation to the team that I work in,
Mm-hmm.
and also how do I feel in relation to my direct supervisor or manager. And actually there is a book on this. It's called, I think, the 9 lies the 9 lies about work. In case someone wants to dig deeper into, why businesses are trying to tackle this in a bit into the wrong way, I would say. So they're looking at metrics that are not actually making a big difference in engagement. And Cisco actually does a really good job at this, and they've increased their, and we work with them as well. They've increased their employee engagement massively through a really simple, and this is something that I want to share. So through a really simple way of doing that. So they have their supervisors check in with their employees 15 minutes weekly. And they also have a process for that. So it's kind of a simple process. What would you need from me as kind of the leader? What would how was your last week? What are your priorities for this week? And how can you improve? What would you like to focus on? So there are a lot actually focused on the work itself, not so much, and the person obviously grows as a result of that. And through just this simple, and straightforward method, they managed to increase massively their employee engagement. And this is, again, because sometimes we think, oh, we have to give people feedback, or we have to, back to what the 9 lives work, talks about. And it's not about feedback sometimes, because most of the times, actually, when we do give feedback, it's not the right feedback. And it's not given in a way that makes the person grow. Or also, we give people feedback through our lenses. And it's not to where they are or what, themselves they need to develop. And people are really powerful. Like, I mean, from our experiences, we are always humbled and to see the growth they do in the training rooms. They're, they don't need help. They're perfect. They're wonderful individuals that can grow, and they can achieve great things. So all they need is an environment to grow, not someone to give them feedback on what's not working or what they should be doing differently. So it's about creating that type of environment where people are listened, cared for, and yeah, it's constructive for them as well to grow.
But when we start implementing this nice process, which we know that it's gonna create some good outputs, there is one piece which is the most important piece: people, right? At the end, it's gonna be the people that's gonna be using this new process, adapting to this new process. Not only the leaders, right? The way that the leader is relating to the employees, so a lot of changes on their minds. When you know that the change management process is something hard for people, and I'm saying to everyone, I've seen some studies that saying that people takes from 5 to 7 years to really change their mindset into a new process. So this is a reality when we start using and implement some changes formally into the organizations. And I know that Dale Carnegie has a very structured 4 steps to talk about change, right, on the process. Could you explain a little bit what are those 4 nice steps?
Yeah, sure, Jigan. And I couldn't agree more. Actually, research shows that about 50-70% of change initiatives actually fail. And they fail because of the reasons you just said. The conundrum is the people side of change, not so much the process or, specifically that what we want to do, but actually getting people on board with those changes. And yes, we have a really good 4-step process. I just have to be careful what I'm going to say, because I've done a video, a few years ago about this, and
I know that. I saw that video.
Yes, I was saying something like change is not an option; it's a business reality these days. And my colleagues since then, every time, I question the change that we have in the business, they will all say change is not an option; it's a business reality. So, yes, so yeah, with the 4 steps that we have at Dale Carnegie are related to actually behaviors and outcomes. So the first step is what are the outcomes that we want to achieve, but most importantly, what are the behaviors we would like to see people doing differently in relation to those outcomes. And then the second step, which it's I think make it or break this type of step. It's the attitude to change. So here, this is the reason why people sometimes fight change, because of either they're scared or they don't know how. or they feel their autonomy is in question, or they don't want to be seen bad, or so there are a number of reasons why people will resist change. So here a leader needs to really spend time and have those conversations to understand exactly what's preventing that person, or what is it that it can be done in a way that is helpful for everybody, for the business, for the person, and also to get to those behaviors. But I think this sometimes this step is overlooked, and it's massive, because unless you deal with this carefully, no change is going to
Sure.
happen. And then the third step is the knowledge and information. So in case they need to do some specific behaviors, okay, what is it specifically they need to do, the how. So here they can be trained. So that this is not so difficult, I would say. And the last step is the application. So we say practice makes permanent. So not perfect, permanent. So the more we practice things, the better we get at them. And the challenge here is what we call the knowledge trap. So we want to ensure that actually we know what we need to do, but do we actually put that into practice? Because that is the key. And Dale Carnegie was saying in his book that common sense is not common practice. So things that are really for us common sense, or they make sense, sometimes we don't put them in practice, and this is for all of us. So when that happens, what we need to do is actually go to step number 2 and see again what's the attitude in relation to that. What is it? And this is fostered through a dialogue, of course, and people are aligned and put together. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is the Dale Carnegie change model. And I hope my colleagues won't find anything to say about this now. But yeah.
No, it's very interesting what you are saying, because the basis of every change, in a nutshell, right? I don't want to be like generic, but is for people to acknowledge and want that change, right? People need to understand why, and they really need to embrace why we are changing the process and why we are doing that. And it's a leader responsibility to show to them. But then we need to do the tools for. I'm not saying a technical tool, right? But everything that needs to be given to everyone to be able to make that change after they acknowledge that they need and they really want to do that change. And then we need to keep reinforcing why they are changing, the results, the benefits. So only like this, I think we can like remove this resistance to any changes. So pretty much what you are covering. That's perfect, Alina. But this goes straight to another point that I have, because we are talking about a lot of process changes, right? From a leadership perspective, from an employee perspective, and any time during this conversation, we touch technical skills. And I really would like to stress that, Alina, how the importance of soft skills on anyone careers. Because again, I don't want to be like generic, but technical skills, everyone can learn anywhere. We have tons and tons of ways to learn technical stuff, but soft skills for me is harder than a technical skill, because it takes time for someone to change their minds. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is part of the process, but I would like to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, agree, Rodrigo, and it's you brought there a really really good point, and I think sometimes we don't give enough importance to this, and I mean, to on the positive side, businesses now are actually focusing more on this, and even when they hire, they start to have steps into their recruiting process, to see, do people have critical thinking, what's their how they communicate, how they relate to the others. They're putting teams to solve problems. So businesses are starting to focus more on this, and they're I know there's soft, but there's nothing soft about having these skills and building these skills within our teams and ourselves as well. And this is actually what will be a massive game changer for the world moving forward. Because if we think more about roles and how automated they start to be, so will be less things will be done by humans. So there are things AI takes now a massive role into our lives. And the differentiator would actually be this, the soft skills, because if we think about everything that can be automated, this cannot be automated.
Mm-hmm.
We can't automate empathy. We cannot automate how we build networks and relationships, how we treat the others, how we communicate. So actually, if you want to ensure that in the future you would always have a job and you can differentiate yourself, this would be the right way to do it, by investing in the soft skills. And yeah, definitely agree. I
No,
couldn't agree more.
I'm super glad to hear that you agree with me, Alina. Super important to me. But Alina, I know everyone that is watching here probably knows that too. That we don't need to stress why and how Dale Carnegie can help people and organizations to be better, right? To develop themselves. But I just would like to grab this group of people who still don't know and should know Dale Carnegie, and how you guys are helping organizations and people. How can you help, right? To develop to be a better person or to be a better organization, because we know life is tough, the market is tough, so we need to over succeed everyone.
Yes. Well, I hope, Rodrigo, there are not many people now in the world who don't know about Dale Carnegie. So of course, we're working on changing on that. And if that's the case, it's definitely on us. So it's our responsibility to do things differently so that more people engage with us. We do a number of things. So at the core of what we do, we have the Dale Carnegie principles.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the principles that actually help people improve their human the soft skills and the human relations and how they interact with the others.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give a bit of an overview, because people might not be aware with that. So the Dale Carnegie principles, there are 30 of them, and there are also the Stress and Worry, which is another book. But the most important ones are the principles that can be found in the book, the best-selling book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book that was published in 1936, but the principles and that are taught in the book and that we teach in our programs are definitely really up to date, and they change a lot how people interact. So I can sometimes get people that I've never seen in my life, and they've been through the Dale Carnegie program of human relations and communication, which actually tackles the soft skill side of what we do, and they will thank me for the impact that it had on their lives, and they will put their kids on those programs. So they're a massive. They might be common sense when you read them, but actually putting them in practice,
Mm-hmm.
it can change your, I think, your personal, your professional, your life altogether. And in our programs, we have specific ways of you know helping people implement them. So giving them assignments in a way that they start to implement it, they come back, they report on how everything went. We also work with Generation Next. So we have programs across the world where we try and engage more the new generation, so that we help them with these soft skills, so that they're prepared for the for their professional lives.
That's amazing, Alina. And I know that our time is almost in the end, but I do have one last question, because this is so amazing to me to see. I'm gonna call an old company. It's just because you are there for 95 years, and you have these core principles that we are able to go throughout all your lifetime with the same principles. But my curiosity is, how can you still keep the same principles from when you started to today, and is it still relevant? The consistency on growth and recognition that you guys have is amazing, but you have principles back a century also. How can you guys manage that?
So yes, I think the reason why these principles stood, through time, it's actually how relevant they are in today's environment. So we are having clients now, for example, that are asking us to help them with the hybrid environment that they will be starting working on. And actually this, the managers and their teams are going to work in almost in asynchronous, like they're not going to be at the same time, in the office or working from home. So how do they manage those those relationships better? And we have now programs together and actually working with our clients to help them prepare their leaders to do that. And it's exactly through these principles, because this is what makes the massive difference. No matter what environment you're in, as long as you practice these principles, which are human relations principles, on how you can find out what is important to that person, how can you engage with them, what's working for them, what's not working, where are they struggling, what's their well-being. Throughout throughout this lockdown, we had a lot of requests for stress and well-being programs. So businesses are now looking to support their teams to a completely different level. If we're thinking about a few years ago, and back to your questions at the beginning, I mean, the world now and how we work and the level of support that organizations are giving, which is the best way, is definitely the way to move forward. It's extraordinary, I would say. And this is kind of these principles are helping actually leaders to lead in a way with empathy, and understand their teams, understand whether they're struggling, where they can support, and also provide an environment where people can grow and find their own solutions, because we're not necessarily in this environment that we're living in. It's more about helping people be autonomous and also grow in this process as well.
Alina, if you allow me, but you can say that I'm totally wrong. The way I read the situation is your core principles are built with the people in the center of the experience. So you got, since always, people is the most important role within any process or organization, any place. So if you create all your principle based on people, you're gonna succeed. This is the way I read the situation.
100%. I could not agree more with you, Rodrigo, for sure. And this is what moves the world as well. It's people. So a business, a product, it helps, but everything and all those things are created by people. And if we take care of that part of our business, the other things will follow. So 100%, when businesses are focusing on their people, giving them, an environment where they feel appreciated and engaged, then they give the best to their clients, to making the best products that they can sell. So absolutely agree.
That's a perfect statement to end this video. I will not make any other comment because cannot be better than this one, Alina. Alina, as I said at the beginning, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I hope you had a great time. I had, and I'm sure that everyone who is watching us today, it's gonna have the same good time. So really appreciate your time, Alina, and hope I can have more of your time in the future.
Well, thank you as well. It's been a massive pleasure. Thank you for your enthusiasm and energy that you bring to the video. It has been a wonderful pleasure to talk to you. I felt really at ease the whole time. So well done for doing an amazing job.
Thank you very much, Alina.
Have a lovely day.